I apologize for the weird framing. I don't have a cork board, so I just kind of had to work with this random picture frame that I had while lying around, and I don't want you guys looking at me. So the cool thing about rigid categorization is that it strips things of nuance and also that it doesn't work. I am self-admittedly kind of doing myself here, but there is also 100 characters in this game, and it's kind of impossible to talk about 100 characters without drawing a line somewhere. So this is kind of the best system that I could come up with to sort of talk about these characters in the most efficient way possible. And if you don't like that, I mean, honestly, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to change my system because you don't like it, but like, if you want to talk about how you would categorize it, how you would categorize these guys, you can go on ahead. And I would also love to hear people's opinions about where I put people, how you think I did. Because, I'm only mortal. I only understand so much in this world. And I'm all for civil, enlightened discussion. All of that in mind, here's a question. How do I possibly convey to you, the audience, which date everything dateable would be ideal for you? Especially since most likely you're not actually using this video as a reference and just kind of want to see what I say about your favorite character. And frankly, I don't want to spend 500 million hours on doing this. So you'll have to forgive me for the fact that these characters aren't really getting 5 pages of analysis each. I would love to do that, but I have a life. But I do think that I have here a pretty efficient way to discuss all of these characters to help you decide who you might want to boink. And the thing about a dating game, video games in general, but a dating game especially, is that the thing that's gonna draw you in is the core fantasy. Basically, the core fantasy of a character is the emotions they try to elicit, from the warm fuzzies to a means of letting you connect to more complicated emotions. So I have a little bit of a system here to sort all that out. I have my microphone shoved down my shirt. So if it sounds a little bit like it's coming too much from one side, I'm sorry. On the left here, we have chill characters. These are characters where really their core fantasy involves the fact that they're just kind of awesome, Like, they're generally pretty nice to be around in some way or another, and that's kind of why you want to interact with them. You want to interact with them because they inspire a positive emotion within you. Also, I'm sorry, I know you can't probably read these very well. All right, in the middle, we have heightened characters. These are characters where it's like, this is a little difficult to explain other than a middle ground between my other categories. Kind of their appeal to them is that they're not really looking to inspire anything real, I guess. This is kind of the home of joke characters that are just really fun in a way, but don't particularly strike you as very realistic in any meaningful way. This is admittedly kind of a bit of a catch-all category, but I feel like it'll make sense once we get into it, and if it doesn't, I'm sorry. And over here, we have yikes. Yikes are characters, as you can imagine, chill characters. They're here to inspire positive emotions within the players. Emotions like, oh, what a nice, cool, fun person, or wow, this person is so sweet to me. That sort of thing. Yikes characters, the basic emotion you're getting out of this is, wow, that's really fucked up. I want to be a part of that. So that's kind of my categorization of like where within these core fantasy, where everyone's core fantasies kind of lie. And we'll just kind of see how that goes, huh? Boy, oh boy, did I underestimate the amount of post-it notes I had, but it's okay, I needed to use them. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm wearing gloves, it's because I take workplace safety very seriously, and as this is a hazardous zone, I need to, make sure everything's protected. All right, we're just gonna go in Data Duck's entry order. I don't see why not. Skylar. I'll be honest, I feel like introducing her off the bat with her little tummy, her little tum tum or whatever. That was a misplay, I think. That said, I think she's like fine. I don't know, a little enthusiastic, I guess. I'm gonna put Skylar kind of in the middle between chill and heightened here. No, I'm gonna move her a little over here, a little closer to heightened, because it's like these are kind of for characters that I think are just sort of like they're just sort of fun. They're there to be fun. Phoenicia. So with Phoenicia, I mean, kind of when you're hanging out with her, she's just kind of like scrolling through social media and talking about the posts you see. And you know what? I think that's pretty chill. I think that's pretty chill. I think this is just kind of like a hangout you would normally have with like a friend. So Phoenicia's going here. That kind of seems like the appeal of her characters, that you just kind of hang out. All right, we got Wallace. Wallace is a character, if you really like him, decisive. I think Wallace is gonna go kind of right. Yeah, these things are gonna have to overlap. This is a fairly small frame, all things considered. Wallace, I think, is gonna kind of go over here, yeah, because it's like he's not really within the realm of reality we're operating under here. He just says Wall and I love you. But you know, if you're kind of into that, that's great. Florence and Celia, I paired them together because if you're interested in one, you're probably interested in the other. I know they have very different vibes. Florence is kind of this really shy, lacking confidence, kind of girly, and Celia is, you know, very, very put together and authoritative, but you know, like a kindly leader. But like, you know, I think the main allure of their characters is their Yuri that they've got going on. And I think if you're interested in them, it's because you want them to date also. I think they're going over here, kind of in the middle between chill and heightened, because it's like, I do feel like these are fairly like cool and interesting people, but you know, typically you're not getting involved with people by hooking them up with each other. And also, as a red-blooded American, it is my right and my honor to treat all politicians as the scum of the earth. So I'm a little suspicious of Celia, but you know, she does seem to be doing her best job. She does seem to be looking out for the house, so I guess I can't criticize her too much. Okay, Stella, this poor woman. So, first of all, Stella is for the true bona fide MILF stans. Yeah, she's definitely kind of older. She's starting to gray, and also she's falling for a scam that you cannot possibly convince her out of, which is very mother-coded. I think she's gonna fall a little under yikes more this way, just because, like, you know, a part of like why you're interested in her is that you just kind of want to help her out. It's just like no, this poor woman. Dorian's Dorian. He's just so aggressively bouncer-esque. I think he's like good to talk to, you know. He's just here to help. He's here to be your friend. And I think that's awesome. Plus, we stand in Aero Legend. Gwendolyn, she didn't leave much of an impression on me, if I'm going to be honest, and I don't really know why you would particularly want to be involved with Gwendolyn. She's very honest and transparent, you know, that's kind of the joke of her character. She's fine. And I guess I could put her over here because it's just kind of like, you know, the main thing about her is a fairly desirable trait, I would say. Kurt and Rod, they're just, you know, they're funny. They're just two dudes razzing each other, razzing the neighbors. I don't think they would like the word razz. Maybe they would. I'm also gonna put them under chill. I think these are people that would be genuinely fun to know. Shelly. So Shelly's really fun because of her very thinly veiled anxieties. But you know, she's very stressed out all the time, and I think that's kind of why you might find her interesting, is just how damn stressed out she is. She's definitely more on this side of yikes, because I feel like there's like on the severe end of yikes, it's things that like you're not really interested in solving, you just kind of want to get in the middle of. Shelly, I think you kind of want to like help her out with whatever's going on in her head, you know? Abel is the first of the characters that I think would fall under just kind of too perfect, you know? You know, that's not to say that he doesn't have problems or flaws or anything, but it's just like, you know, there's some characters that are just like, so they're just very, very nice and supportive, and it's like it's not that I necessarily think that sort of behavior is unrealistic. It's just that like as a fantasy, I think what makes it appealing is just how like constant and ever present it is, and how that's just kind of a nice feeling to have. So I think that's puts it a little more towards heightened than some of the more chill characters like Phoenicia, Gwendolyn, Curtain Rod, that stuff. Jeremy. Now you might think that Jeremy is a little more might fall under more of like the fun characters, the more idealized characters. And to that I say, you probably have never met a theater person, because this is exactly what they act like 1000% of the time. Even people who like normally have like different personalities or whatever, the second they're in a theater room, this is how they behave. And I would know this because I did theater in high school. So trust me when I say this is the authentic theater experience. And in fact, I would actually say this is the coolest embodiment of like what makes theater so fun. You know, she's very supportive and of like, you know, just kind of doing what's fun, just having a genuine appreciation for the art. I'm putting her under here because I feel like this would be like the ideal theater instructor to have. I got this set of post-it notes at a convention. I don't have the info of who designed it. I apologize, but if you know, put it down in the comments. I would love to give credit where it is due because these are very cute. Anyway, next up is Lux. Lux is the first of the characters I would put under the have some self-respect category, and I feel confident calling it that because if you're gonna date one of these characters, you're fine with acknowledging that it's a little messy. Lux, I think, is gonna go pretty solidly towards yikes here, because it's like they're just so vapid, so self-centered, and it's like I don't really like, and like I guess the core fantasy of that is just kind of like, you know, I can sort of understand like the degradation aspect of it, or like the sort of like, you know, just riding kind of the high of their ego. And you know, I think but yeah, either way, I think it lends them more towards yikes, because it's like, what are they on about, you know? If you're not gonna excessively flatter them, then it's like then they just have no interest in you, and you know that's the point, I guess. Hector is one of the few characters in this game where I'm just like, man, I don't want to be here. So first of all, in the first place, I don't like characters, or at the very least, I'm not really into the dynamic of a character who's just kind of immediately smitten with you. You know, to me, it's just so much. It's just like, I don't know, when it is so immediate and so forward, it's just like, leave me alone, man. I don't know you. And Hector is like the very worst form of that. And I do mean that in a good way, because I know that for plenty of people, they do like that kind of open affection. And even for Hector, where that's like really extreme, and he's like kind of extremely creepy about it. And if you tell him that he's creepy, he threatens to kill you. Like I can totally see the appeal of that. I can see the appeal of just like being wanted that much. I don't know, for me, I find it very off-putting, but that's my opinion. If you like that kind of thing, this is the man you go for. He's still going under yikes, though. Timothy is going slightly towards yikes because I feel... What fell? No! Timothy is going slightly more towards yikes for no other reason than the fact that I feel like he's a little bit of a Tumblr sexy man. Oh no, this is gonna be a fucking disaster. No, stick, damn post-it, stick. Look, Timothy's just a little bit of a Tumblr sexy man, okay? I just get that vibe from him. I understand that if you just look on Tumblr, Chance is kind of a lot more popular. Like, Chance is like the most, fucking hell, please. Chance is kind of the most popular person on Tumblr right now, but the reason I think Timothy is still kind of a Tumblr sexy man is that, like, look, he just got that vibe. I think he doesn't need to be the most desirable, dateable. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. If you've been on Tumblr, you get it, right? You get why he's there. Someone please validate me in the comments. And if I'm wrong, I guess you can tell me, but, you know, I'm not gonna be happy about it. River doesn't really know who she is or who she wants to be and is a little insecure. I don't know. I think that kind of just falls under chill. That's like a very that's very reasonable concerns. You know, you don't get into yikes just for having problems. You get into yikes if like kind of the allure is that you have some pretty bad ones, and what you want is to be kind of steeped in them. But for like River, and I think characters that are a little more shy or insecure, it's not really about like wanting to be steeped in it. It's just kind of finding it endearing, which I think is an important distinction. Anyway, River goes here. Fine, I admit it, it sucked. A lot more tape is getting involved in this equation than I had hoped. Volt and Eddie. I feel like if you're interested in Volt and Eddie, it's because you would want to get interested in them because they kind of got some mystery going on there, you know? You know, there's problems with the power. Eddie's kind of a dick. What's going on there? So I feel like this is going on there heightened because it's like, ooh, mystery. What's going on? What's going on? Koa is kind of like Abel in that he's just extremely nice. You know, he's literally just there to like sit and vibe, and that's what he likes to do. So you can just go here. You can go here. This is a good place for Koa. You just hang out, buddy. Dolly, I think is another character that kind of falls into like the just a little too perfect category because it's and like that's kind of the joke of her character, right? Is that it's like you might assume that she's just kind of like a sexy thing, but like then you find out that she has 8 million PhDs or whatever she said. But yeah, I don't know. I think you like her because she's an it girl. I think this is like a good spot for her. We love an it girl. We do. This side of the board is probably going to end up being a lot more heavy than the yikes side. You don't want too many yikes going on. If you have too many yikes going on, you're going to get stressed out. And you don't want to get stressed out. Well, I mean, I guess you do. That's the point of the yikes. But, like, you need balance, you know? Dante just kind of teaches you how to flirt. Look, not all of the characters, you really get to shine equally in the demo, alright? You can't really get into whatever his business in. It seems like there might be business, but you don't really have time to get into it. He just kind of flirts with you. Well, he just kind of teaches you how to flirt, rather. You know, I feel like I will inevitably end up doing a sequel to this video, and when we do that, we can sort of discuss more of the nuances, move things around if we have to. I'll just kind of keep this in my room as beautiful, beautiful clutter. Dante can go here. That's fine, because I feel like most people you meet, they aren't going to immediately try to teach you how to flirt unless they're trying to sell you a $500 course. And hey, if someone's selling you a $500 course to flirt, don't buy it. Don't. No matter how much money it is, I don't care if it's $2. Don't pay someone to teach you how to flirt. Telly is really fun. Telly is definitely falling into like the fun characters. You know, I think Telly has such potential to be super annoying, but I think their voice actor just locks in so hard that they just become really charming and fun. There's so much energy to like the rhyming, to the pop culture references. I mean, obviously, if you're into pop culture references, just hang out with Telly all the time. But yeah, I think you hang out with Telly because Telly's fun. Because Telly's just kind of a joy to be around. No. Weirdly enough, standing around in the summer heat with a jacket on and no fan makes you kind of sweaty. Luna, aka Connie. I don't really know how all that works, but I guess so. She's kind of like stuck in a video game time loop, and you can like date her, but you can also like help her untime loop. I think that's like how the overarching story that goes on there. I think she's going like right here, like kind of in yikes, mostly into heightened here. That's kind of where she belongs, I think. She could go right there. That's good. Keys. As a fellow pretentious loser, uh, I categorize her as one of the pretentious losers of this game. And listen, I think that's awesome, you know? I have nothing but love and joy in my heart for the vastness of the human experience, including being kind of a loser about your interests in a way that is really unpleasant. You know, I try to temper that on this channel. I don't want to be a pretentious nerd, but you know, I can be. And so can Keys. I think a music piece that is nothing but rest notes is kind of awesome, but it is also pretentious as all fuck, dude. Like, it's both. It can be both. It can be like a statement about, you know, what is the meaning of music and sound, and it can also be like, dude, just fucking play Mary Had a Little Lamb if you have no other ideas, you know? It's both. And that's what makes it beautiful. So that's kind of Keys' vibe. And if you want to date her, it's because it's kind of like, you know, I guess you're just kind of interested in what she thinks, what her life's about, you know? Like, has some interesting thoughts about the concept of music, and that's why you talk to her. Gaia. Can I say something? I feel like Gaia stans are like people who kind of never got over their crush on their third grade teacher. Let me know if that's accurate in the comments. She's just really interested in the world and learning more about it. And learning about all the people of it. And you know, she's very delightful in that way, and how enthusiastic she is. I think she's like slightly over into Heightened a little bit, but definitely more of just kind of like, you know, she's enjoyable because, you know, you just kind of like enjoy taking in her vibe, you know? If I run out of tape, I'm gonna explode, dude. Jacques is someone you interested in. Jacques, yeah, if you're so Jacques, he wants to kill you is the thing, but I don't think he's like serious about it. I don't think he like means it. I think he's just kind of in for the fight, you know. This is a man who understands what enemies to lovers is, you know. This is about repression and affection and attraction through means of sword fight. He understands what that means. He understands what that's about. That lies deep in the character of his soul. And I think that kind of lands him into a kind of in the middle of yikes here. He's just kind of like violent, but in a way where he doesn't actually hurt you. He just kind of like says things. He says he's gonna kill you, but like he doesn't. If I'm understanding things correctly, I don't think he even like he like knows he's kind of fucking around, having a good time. And if you're willing to join that good time, I think he'll be reciprocative to that. But, you know, you've also gotta get in on the roleplay here. This is roleplay. Jacques is roleplay. That's what Jacques is about. I'm really gonna enjoy editing this and hope I said anything fucking intelligible on this one. Let's put you here. Jacques. Jacques slightly more fun. Jacques doesn't mean it. Mateo is a soft boy. He's the softest boy to ever soft boy. He looks soft. He takes care of little animals. That's adorable. He's just like these, and this is one of the characters where I think it is like pure idyllicism, I think. Does he have problems? Yes. You know, does he have flaws? Yes. Like, you know, he's having trouble finding one of his dogs, you know. He struggles to accept help. But, you know, these are kind of like things where I can sort of understand, like, wanting to experience that genuinely in the real world, like why you might want to like self-project yourself into that situation and imagine that like really happening, because it's like, you know, there's excitement about it, but there's like not any, you know, no one really gets hurt, you know. You know, this is one of those characters where I'm like, where it's like it's a little side questy, you know, where it's like you're there to help them solve whatever's happening. So if that kind of sounds like what you're into, go for Mateo. I'm gonna run out of space. Whoops. Tina Triangle. I like Tina. She's so messy. She's kind of like always saying shit, you know. She's kind of insulting. She's kind of demanding. She's not really truly mean though, you know. She doesn't say anything that really cuts deep, or doesn't really try to. She's just kind of like a brat. She's kind of on about her own ideas. She's kind of like, you know, you gotta keep up with her. You know, if you're not willing to keep up with her, get the fuck out of here, you know? I kind of like that about her. I like that. I like that sass. I like that pizzazz. But it does definitely land her towards the yikes. And I think I'm gonna put her kind of in this middle area here. Maybe a little closer in the true yikes territory. Yeah, like here I think is fair. Here I think is fair for Tina. Can you read any of that at all? If you haven't been paying attention, sorry. Maybe I'll take some pictures and you can kind of see what it says up close and still not understand it. Beverly's kind of like Mateo in that, you know, she's kind of a side quest character. You help her get her business off of the ground. And, you know, she's sweet. I mean, she's not super sweet, but like, you know, she's hardworking, she's energetic, she's enthusiastic, she's enjoyable to be around. And, you know, you just kind of help her solve her little problem. And I think, you know, it's sort of a similar structure to Mateo in that regard. Different flavor, because, you know, it's kind of more of like the self-starter kind of thing. Need more space. Go here. Mitchell. So I have a lot of questions about the world building of Date Everything. Now I understand this is kind of an MSTK3. I understand this is kind of an MS3T. I understand this is kind of an MST3K kind of thing where it's like, you know, you should really just relax. Don't think about it too hard. But like, I just have a lot of questions, you know, like Jean-Lu is the toilet, but like Daisuke, you know, he takes care of the dishes or whatever. And also they have bodily needs, like Bathsheba mentions getting a pizza. I don't really understand like the mechanics of how all this works. I understand I'm not supposed to, but it really okay. But like, here's my big question. So Mitchell Lynn is food, but he's also a food critic. So I just really, for the Mitchell fans, for the Mitchell scholars in the comments, I just have one question for you: is this cannibalism or is this vor? And is that hot? Let me know in the comments. Either way, he kind of falls into the same area of Keys, where it's just like he's just kind of being a pretentious loser about food. And hey, again, as a fellow pretentious loser, nothing but love and support for that, but that is kind of what his deal is. And you know, you kind of just want to be there to help him you help him look at restaurants, evaluate what's going on, you know? I guess you can go right there. Okay. Fabrizio. I think, yeah, Fabrizio is kind of another one of those characters that's just too perfect. He's also one of those characters that is very, like, immediately adoring. And as I've mentioned, that's not really my thing, but if that's your thing, I think you'll totally enjoy him. He, like, very immediately is all about you, all about your vibe, trying to get to know you more. You know, your second time talking with him, he like describes this very beautiful, idyllic date on the Italian countryside or whatever. And you know, that's all very wonderful. I feel like this is almost like a slightly older woman's like kind of fantasy man. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's kind of like who I imagine the target audience of Caprizio would be. And I think that kind of lands him, you know, with the other sort of really perfect, the like a little too perfect characters. Well, not too perfect. If you're into that, then it's like the right amount of perfect, right? You know what I mean? I mean it in a good way. I mean it in a beautiful way. I mean it in a loving way. I am so full of love. Okay, Sinclair / Martin. I don't really know what is up with this guy. I don't really fully understand him, if I can just be totally honest. He kind of seems like he's just sort of making shit up for funsies. I don't know, he's funny. He's kind of funny with what he's got going on, but I don't fully understand it. So if you are a Sinclair and or Martin scholar, do let me know what's going on with that. Like, you know, like I said, I'm only mortal. I know many things, but I only know so many things. And perhaps, the depths of the beauty and sweetness that lie within Martin's soul might just be a little beyond this one, you know? But if you get it, you let me know. But I think he kind of goes over here because his vibe is kind of just like, what am I fucking talking about? I think that makes sense. Let me know if that's fair. Let me know if I should change it. Ready. Now, despite being a big old Yeti, he's really just kind of a dude, you know? He's really just like, you want some leftovers? And then you're like, yeah. And he's like, cool, here's the food. Here's the best way to heat it up. You know, and like he's very, you know, he's kind of like sweet. He's kind of attentive. And if you're kind of a monster fucker, hey, this is that. So he's gonna go kind of on like the chill end of the kind of, perfect characters, if that makes sense. I think that does. Alrighty. Stefan is, you know, he's kind of running the kitchen. The kitchen as a whole is like, I think one of the rooms in the house that's kind of the most tight knit. You know, everyone there is pretty used to working together. So, you know, he kind of seems to have like a dad role for Miranda. He's kind of very serious. He's kind of an intense a little bit, but he seems just like, you know, he's running the place, you know, he's making sure the food comes out well. That's his main concern about life. I think that's admirable. I think he kind of falls under here in like just kind of the generally desirable characters. Oh yeah, here we go. It's Luke Nukem. Alright, so listen. Luke's my favorite. He's my favorite, alright? You might think that he kind of goes into the heightened category, but here's the thing. As a bona fide Luke enjoyer, I think he kind of really goes into, like kind of over here into the yikes category. And the reason for that is that this man is kind of a disaster, you know? He's really, messed up. Like, it's kind of easy to gloss over because it's so padded in humor, but like, he's got so much going on, dude. Like, I'm pretty sure he has a resting heart rate of 180. Like, he is held together by pure adrenaline, and I think if he stopped for like 10 minutes, he would completely fall apart. Like, the second day you talk to him, like, he's literally so high on power crank that he almost, sorry, I'd like to power his crank, that he almost kills you. And then he mentioned that it's been keeping him awake for 49 months straight. And when you're like, hey, don't do that, he's like, would love to, but one of the withdrawal symptoms is having your bladder explode. And it's like, dude, why did you take it? Like, I understand that's kind of how drugs are, but it's like, why did you take the thing that would make your bladder explode if you stopped taking it? Why'd you do that? His diet is so bad that he bleeds purple. Like, do you understand? His blood should not be purple. What is going on with this man? He's having a tough time is what's going on. And that's his appeal. His appeal is that he is falling apart at the seams and is held together only by sheer force of will, because his mind is convincing him that he's living in a life or death situation at all times, and he has to keep going. And that's what makes him wonderful. I like a messy, if you couldn't tell. I like a messy, messy man. I also like his torso. I just think it's awesome. I like that. I like that he has it exposed. I like that he's like clearly built, but also he's got like a nice layer of fat that I can bruise. Anyway, we're gonna move on. Miranda. She is starting a band and she really cares about her music, but her kind of dad, Stefan, isn't super into it. He just wants her to be a toaster. And she's like, man, toaster isn't who I am. Toaster is what I do. Who I am is musician. And I love that for her. Kind of like Mateo and Beverly, I think. It's not really much of a side quest, but it's like, it's kind of that similar vibe where it's just like, you know, it's a very like down to earth problem to have that isn't really, you're not really expected to invest like a severe emotion into it or anything. But you know, that is kind of like what makes her sort of interesting and unique. Okay, so the cool thing about the human experience and the vastness of the capability of, you know, the human soul and, you know, our capacity for emotion, for thought, for our different experiences in life, all of that, is that there are just things that are just too beautiful for me to understand, really, such as Dishy. Now you might think, surely no one is getting involved with Dishy. No one cares about Dishy like that. You would be incorrect. There is, I don't have their username, but there is one person on Tumblr who's really into Dishy. Like, so into Dishy. And it's like, I think it's kind of like a, you know, like a sort of like a totally machine kind of thing, going to like, and like learning about love kind of thing. In which case, I can kind of really get that, but it's like, but you know, I don't know. Hey, if you're in the comments, sound off. Tell me what this is about. With that being my assumption, I think Dishy kind of goes a little bit towards yikes, because you know, there's a little bit of excitement in that. There's a little bit of like the drama. I don't know. Maybe because they're trying to steal your personal information. I'll put it towards yikes. Identity theft is serious business. That's good. I think. I don't think further than Luna. Daisuke dishware. Daisuke is kind of in that like very kind of too perfect category, I think, you know. He's extremely stoic. He's kind of just really worried about his dishware all the time. You know, there is kind of that element of like, you know, tension between you and him, like kind of like an underlying like repression that he has that is not really ready to speak, and you aren't either. Like, I could get that. That's totally exciting. For me, I think he's a little boring, but then like maybe you'd find that really exciting. I can totally see it. I can totally see why someone, for me, it's just like if he's gonna repress his emotions that much, there better be a lot of shit brewing under the surface, you know? You know, just to make sure that you can see where everyone lies, because you can't. Friar Errol. I hope that's how you say it. I feel like this was designed specifically against my accent. So here's the thing about the Friar. I gotta be honest, I was watching a lot of these off of YouTube. Thank you, Writer in Theory. I really didn't want to go through all of that. It sounded like a lot of time and energy, and it was easier to watch. So I was watching through this. I was just like, oh. And I was like, I don't know. I don't really get what is super exciting about him. And then you get to the point where like you confess your sins and he gets kind of horny about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what this is about. This is like religious trauma and or working through like perfectionism induced shame. This is the character if you're kind of into, if that just kind of sounds kind of sexy to you, like someone kind of getting off on the fact that you're being naughty, you know? That's this guy. I think that's beautiful. There's really someone for everyone in this game. And I hope they do DLC so that way there's more someones for more peoples. He's going pretty deep in the yikes. Because you gotta bring a lot of yourself. You gotta be willing to get in deep, I think, to get the maximum enjoyment out of him. Gopi's cute barista. And that's honestly kind of all I've got to say about her. She's another one of those characters that doesn't shine super a lot in the demo. She kind of just makes coffee for you. Like, she does kind of have that little, like, customer service thing where it's like, she's all smiley, but, like, she doesn't remember who the fuck you are. Anyway, Gopi goes, like, here. It's like, this is a person you could meet in real life. And you might find that interesting and fun. Cam, this is the person you go for if you're into Shane from Stardew Valley. They're like the same breed, they're the same animal. Cam's kind of got this really sour attitude. But like he does seem to kind of like you a bit. He's just like a bitch about it. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's Shane from Stardew Valley. That's what this is. And if that sounds like your thing, go for Cam, man. Little bit into yikes, not super yikes though. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think I think the excitement's about how, like, he's not really that into you at first, but then you kind of turn him. Amir just kind of flatters you at first. Just kind of flatters you. Another one of those characters that, like, doesn't get much in the demo. That's wonderful. I mean, it worked on me. The thing that makes him slightly different from the other, like, immediate flatterers is that he flatters you on your appearance, which is a thing that you can immediately evaluate about a person. He doesn't go too hard about it, I think. He mostly just, like, encourages you to have some confidence about yourself, which I think is nice. I still wouldn't date him. He's not, like, my favorite. Well, I mean, I would probably date him. You can kind of date however many people you want. I'll probably date, like, 80 of them. Is Luke my true love? Yes. But, like, that's kind of one of the beauties of this game, is that it's just like you can just do whatever the hell you want, no one cares, everyone's cool with it. I think that's awesome. But, like, I don't know, I'll probably kiss him. I'm just not gonna be that excited about it. I don't know, you know what I mean. A lot of these characters, I'm done with that thought. Jean-Nu. Now this is like, now there's some fail guys in this game, but I think this is like the ultimate fail guy, First of all, has to be pointed out, Jean-Nu is really the Michael Jordan of toilet humor. I mean, like this is innovative, this is beautiful, this is like, he shouldn't be as funny as he is, but like, I don't know, they really sell it. But yeah, I think people who are interested in Jean-Nu are interested in him because he's like, he's kind of got a lot of undue confidence and swagger, but there is kind of like that suggestion that like he really isn't all that he says he is. He's got some loser behavior going on, and I think that's why you find him appealing, is that he's a little bit of a loser. He's a little bit of a meow meow. This is for people who want a little bit of meow meow. Do people know what a little meow meow is, or is that like just a Tumblr thing? And like there's going to be a bunch of people who are like, what are you fucking talking about? I guess I'll find out. Yeah, he goes like right here. He goes here. All right, Johnny's another one of our fail guys, actually. He's a little more down to earth than Jean-Nu. But kind of his whole thing is that like he's a not amazing singer. He kind of just like, leaves his dull life behind, quits his job in order to become a singer. And there is definitely about like, he's got like that sopping wet cat about him, he's a little bit pathetic, but he's still got like a little bit of charm. And also I gotta say, some of his dialogue options is funny. I really love how like when you're talking to Tony, you're like, or is it Tony? You can talk, I think it's Tony, where you can bring up the concept of fucking prana. But when he's like, when Johnny's like, how many hours in a day you are, you have to like pass a stat check in order to remember there's 24 hours in a day, which honestly, mood. Sometimes you forget the basics. Johnny's like, he's kind of pathetic, and that's why you're kind of into him. You like him because he's pathetic. I have plenty of space to work with, and I'm not worried about it. All right, Bathsheba, she's so fun. She's like so like, I don't know, something about her is like very nostalgic to me. She's got that like 2000s like girl boss isn't the word. She's got that, I guess, it girl. She's kind of an it girl, that 2000s it girl. She's got that about her. She knows she's wonderful. She knows she's excellent, and she knows she deserves the the world. And I think that's really beautiful. I think she's gonna kind of go towards like this side, kind of in the heightened yikes divide, you know, because it's like, you know, it's a little bit of like, you know, she doesn't regard the player character super well, so you kind of got to have a little bit of interest in like earning her interest, I guess. That's kind of the allure of her. But you know, if that kind of sounds like fun, then that's what you go for. I don't remember what these are called. All right, next up is Rebel. I don't think I need to tell you that if you're interested in Rebel, it's because you're kind of in the same vein of Lux, where it's like you kind of just gotta, you know, be interested in the fantasy of trying to win over someone who just doesn't respect you very much. So yeah, kind of in that yikes zone, just kind of really aggressive. And you just kind of gotta be into that. And these take up so much more space, which will make it really easy to. Barry, so kind of the thing that makes Barry, you know, unique and interesting is kind of that, you know, is that like, you know, he's kind of really hyper focuses on things, and he also has a garbage memory. He's just like me for real, man. Where do you think I got all these post-it notes from? And why do you think I'm spending them? Doing this. Will I be forgetting things in the future as a result of this decision? Maybe. Point is, Barry, I get. But yeah, kind of what makes him interesting is kind of following him on that journey. I don't, you know, I think I've discussed this earlier in the video. I don't know. I've been at this for like 2 hours, so I'm really losing the plot here. Kind of, you know, regardless of the conflicts a character has, chill is kind of for characters where it's like their conflicts are kind of endearing or something that can kind of be overcome and they aren't overwhelming. Whereas for yikes, it's kind of like you kind of just want to be a part of that problem. And Barry, I'm kind of unsure where he would lie in that front. I think he kind of lands over here because it's like he does have some like issues, but they're not like very overwhelming. Like they cause him problems. They make his life more difficult. But it's like, you know, you're mostly just, I think you're mostly just kind of there to find him endearing. That's kind of what he's about. So that's where he shall go. Sure. Tyrell's kind of like Caprizio and Abel, kind of those guys where it's like, you know, very immediately like just trying to look out for you a lot. It's not as intense. I mean, I guess he does kind of have his own problems. You know, he's kind of got beef with other people in the bathroom. I think, I don't know. I think maybe kind of in the same similar area, like maybe a little more towards this area. Yeah, kind of near Barry, kind of in line with all of those like more perfect but like, you know, he's got a little more you know. Yeah, this is just totally illegible. Faria. So Faria, I don't have a great read on. I think kind of what's interesting about her, first of all, women in STEM, we love that. Second of all, she's a little quirky in that she's kind of very enthusiastic about people having medical problems, so that way she can handle them. I think if you're the right kind of person, that can really go into yikes. I am nothing of supportive, but of freaks. But I don't really think that's what she's like designed to appeal to. I don't know. Maybe there's a route where that like totally is what's going on. But I don't really think that's what she's about. I think it's more just kind of like, and like the characters are just a little fun, because I think most people would feel a little embarrassed showing that much shame, that much enthusiasm about people being injured. Dasha's very similar to Abel. The game itself notes this. They're both very supportive. Dasha's definitely a bit more of like a character because, you know, she's definitely got that sort of like stereotypical Russian beauty about her. And, you know, she's kind of got that like sort of bluntness and I guess like severity you expect from that sort of character. I mean, she's still very clearly like supportive and wanting to help. But, you know, so I think she definitely kind of goes more into like the heightened fun kind of characters than Abel. Jerry Junk Drawer. I think he kind of lands over towards the heightened end of yikes, because it's like, well, I don't know, because it's like he definitely has like issues, kind of hoarding shit. It causes him some problems, but like, you know, it's kind of just meant to be like an endearing kind of thing, really. Well, I don't know. What do I think of this? I do not know. I guess over here, I think this is fair. Jerry fans, let me know if I'm off here, but I think this is kind of fair. Kind of the reason you're interested in him is that he's a little bit unwell, and you kind of just want to be there for that, you know? I hope people watch this video. Whatever. You know what? If no one watches this video, I'll at least have entertained myself and hopefully my friends. Penelope's fun. But yeah, she's got a lot of self-confidence, you know. Got an ass that won't quit. That's fun. I like that about her. I think she's kind of in the heightened experience, because it's like the thing that's like really truly alluring about her is that it's like she has this great desire to be in a relationship. I'm completely lost my ability to think. Yeah. So what it is that, you know, she wants love, but she's kind of oblivious to the fact that you're totally willing to give it to her. Like whenever you like bring it up, she's like, stop, I might think you're into me. And it's like, girl, what do you think we're doing here? What do you think this game is? So definitely kind of in the heightened experience. I think maybe just like right in the middle, because it's like it's kind of into chill, kind of into yikes, you know what I'm saying? I kind of like the gradient I've got going, so maybe I'll try and keep that up a little bit. Is this too jarring? I don't know. Like right there? Yeah. I'll probably have to break the gradient whenever, because I'm gonna run out of room down there. Mac is kind of over here, and like the very adoring characters. You know, Mac's whole deal in the demo is about how they want to have their operating system updated, so that way they can like run better for you and everything. That's not really the kind of thing that's for me. As I've mentioned, I don't like characters that are too adoring too early. I don't like that they're like kind of changed for you. Like I guess I'm assuming that like the whole thing is that it's like you don't have to, you can just be you and you're perfect or whatever. That's like kind of the thing with Mac. I'm gonna assume. I know Mac is kind of popular. I'm sorry I said I didn't like them that much. They're not for me. That's not the fantasy that appeals to me, and that's okay. Literally, there's so many characters in this game. I don't know if you know this. Willy. So Willy is your work. She's the embodiment of your work. And I love that. I love kind of her girl boss energy, but it's like, man, the last thing I want to think about when I'm playing a dating sim is my relationship with my job. I'm gonna think about that. Goodness. So I feel like she's kind of got to go in the yikes a bit, because it's like, if you're about that, it's like, man, why do you want to get into that right now? No, I guess I would put it there, because I do feel like that is kind of part of like the core fantasy of her, is that you kind of have to deal with like sort of some of the emotions that come around, you know, with employment and especially unemployment, and, you know, kind of the difficulty of finding like what you're trying to do, you know? I think just a little bit in the yikes, not a huge yikes. Not a huge yikes. We really save the huge yikes for people who are huge yikes, you know? Lyric. I like Lyric quite a lot. He likes books and reading and all of that, but he's actually not pretentious about it. He loves all writing equally. It's all beautiful to him. If you haven't been able to tell, I've really been enjoying embracing that philosophy lately. I've probably said beautiful like 80 times in this video. There's so much wonderful things to discover about the world if you just kind of like open your mind and, you know, let yourself see everything that can be found, you know? And Lyric is someone who really understands that, who like feels that in his heart. It's gonna kind of go into this category of people who would just kind of be really cool to know. But yeah, Lyric is someone you want to date if, or you help him write a book. That's really fun. That's cute. And like, you know, he just has so much genuine joy to share about the craft. And I think that's wonderful. Chance. As I mentioned earlier, Chance is a popular one. I've seen a lot of talk about Chance. And I get it. He's kind of a big dork. He's another character that just really cares about his interests and he wants to share it. And, you know, he's a big, oh God, what's the card? Gargoyles and grottos? Is that what it is? Gargoyles and grottos? It's Monster in Place. Gargoyles and grottos. That's what I think it is. If I'm wrong, kill me. Here's the funny thing about Chance is that, I play a lot of D&D, right? It's like one of my main hobbies, and Chance is actually kind of a bad GM. I understand that, like, I'm being a curmudgeon here. I'm being joyless here. I'm seeing things in an intentionally non-joyful way. I'm being a bit of a hater. But, like, here's the thing. I would not want to play with Chance. Now, there's a lot I can forgive. A, for streamlining the experience for a quick visual novel date. And B, you know, the fact that the player is supposed to be new. So I understand understand limiting the options. I even kind of understand Chance kind of prescribing intent onto the player character's character for you. All of that, those are things I can kind of understand. The thing I will not forgive is just how unequal his attention is. Like, I get it. I understand that, like, it's about your experience with Chance. It's about your relationship. But, like, I don't know, man. If I were Dasha, I'd be pissed. It's like I get to butt in every 5 minutes or so, and I just kind of get steamrolled. It's like, man, does my character matter? But listen, that's just fun. That's just funsies. I'm being a hater for fun. I understand that it's not actually that serious, but in any case, I get why people like Chance, because he's like this really joyful nerd who just kind of wants to share his interest and passion with other people. I mean, what the fuck am I doing here, you know? So, I mean, I think that's wonderful. I think that's great. I think he kind of gets up here into the sort of idyllic kind of thing. You can find these people, you know? These people exist. Chance fuckers out there. Go play some D&D. Like, well, hold on. I wouldn't recommend getting into D&D so you can try and date your DM. Don't do that. That is bound to fail. But I am saying that these people do exist. People who just like have very genuine passion and want to share it. And it's just, you know, if you want to meet them, just go ahead and share what you care about with the world. Go out there, you know? You will be surprised by how much love and beauty is out in the world if you go to find it. Chance could go, like, right, like here. Here, I don't see why not. Maggie's kind of one of the nosy bitches in this cast. I kind of like that about her, though. I like that she's a little nosy. I didn't have the greatest first impression of her because she didn't like my joke about how I'm sexy. But, you know, I can kind of get the allure of her character, you know? It's like she might be a little serious, but it's like, you know, she's fun, you know? She snoops around. She tries to solve what's going on, and you can totally help her with that. And I think that's fun. I think she falls into the category of fun characters, where you just kind of go and have a fun experience with her. Have I said fun enough times yet? She's one of those journey characters. She's a character where, like, you just have, like, a very, like, enjoyable task to complete with her. And I think that's kind of her appeal. Winifred. I didn't get much of a read on Winifred, so I mean, she definitely kind of seems to be more in this category. But, you know, I don't really feel confident speaking about her specifics. I mean, you know, she kind of talks about, like, you know, things that have gone on in that house, a little bit about her history and all that, and it's, like, pretty cool. But it's like, you know, I feel like I didn't get to know her super well through the demo. We're just gonna kind of put her here, and we can maybe move her if we feel, and maybe talk about her more if we've got more to say, but, you know, like I said, I've been at this for like 2 hours now, so I'm sorry if sometimes I say things that are slightly unintelligible. Rainy's another fun character. Kind of fun in that she tries really hard to be like, in that, like, you know, she's kind of living off in her own world a little bit, but like not too far off in her own world. You know, she's just very excited about her music. She doesn't really care that it sounds a little off, and you know, she just kind of experiences the joy of dancing, and she doesn't really let anyone stop on her vibe, and that's really fun. This is one of those, if you like really like positive, joyous characters, this is one of those. And I think this is for you. She's another one that I might have to get to know a little bit more, but Candelabra. I did not know that Ray Chase had that kind of vocal range. I'm a Nouvellette main. I didn't know he had that in him. But anyway, Scandelabra. This is another character where I just kind of really don't get it. And it's like, it's not like I don't understand, like, why he's fun, you know? I don't want to spread rumors, but I sure do want to hear them. He's really fun in that regard because he can really, like, indulge in that fantasy. And, you know, he's also just, like, he's very foppish, he's very camp, and I think that's really fun. I don't really get why you would want to kiss him. I don't understand what the appeal is there. I guess he does kind of have that, like, fail guy about him, but I don't know. So, you know, I'm gonna kind of put him just sort of here in the fun category, and if any of the Scandelabra enjoyers would like to enlighten me, please do. No, I covered up this one. I can't do that. That's the label. Uh-oh. Hey, uh-oh. All right, we're gonna finish this out. I'm so close to done. I'm so close to done. Arma's going near yikes. She's a fire alarm. She's worried about fires. She's deeply worried about fires all the time, even under pretty minor circumstances. A little bit of like, oh dear, she's really got a problem. So I think it asks you to kind of deal with some pretty tricky stuff, you know? I'm like right there. That's fair. I think that's fair. Betty. I don't know. She's kind of like, she's definitely like overly sweet, I think, to be like believable. She's kind of got that like, I don't know, like very like seductress kind of thing going on. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean, right? It's like she's like kind of like she's just kind of like sexy all the time, and that's kind of her thing. I mean, I guess she's got things going on, you know. She's got issues with like bad dreams or whatever, but like I don't know. I think if you're into her because she's got this really like soft-spoken, sexy vibe to her. Like I think that's the reason you get interested in her. And you know what? And again, if I'm off, that's fine. Let me know. And, you know, I've probably lost the plot somewhere along the line here, you know, someone or another, where it's like, I just said some shit that isn't right. Diana is kind of like Luke in that the main reason you would want to get involved with her is that she's got some real bad issues. You know, she's barely present in reality. She's kind of got a lot going on in her mind. Got like a lot going on in her mind. She kind of carries a lot of like doubts and struggles with her. Those weigh on her. And also it's like she kind of blames you a little bit for them in her dialogue. She also talks about how undesirable she is in a lot of ways and how like she's a problem and people shouldn't want to be around her. So like she's a pretty big yikes. That's why you would date her, because she's got some pretty intense stuff going on. You want to get in the middle of that. Benoit. If I were to put Benoit somewhere based on the first event with them, I would probably put them somewhere in the middle. But after the second one, where they kind of just spend some time getting to know you a little better, trying to learn your preferences and stuff, I actually think they're kind of going all the way over here and chill. I think that's really cool. Just like someone who's just like, you know, interested in sex, talking about it with you in a really like mature level way. I think that's pretty cool. So I think somewhere over here for Benoit. Good God. No, that's gonna get crushed. Teddy. I mean, Teddy's a teddy bear that gives you advice and or tells you stories. You know, I'm not gonna pretend I'm not charmed by that. I think he's very cute. I also think he's really over here in kind of like the very idealized characters. Like, you know, this is not a real person, you know? This is a pure fantasy. You do not meet this person. But he's really cool. I'm glad he's here. There's space here. We found it! The Hanks. The Hanks is for himbo enjoyers, and that's really just it. These are himbos. That's it. I don't know. What do you want? What do you want me to tell you? You date them because there's 5 himbos that just want to date you. They think you're sexy, and they want to hang out with you, and that's why you date them. You get your little polycule of hangers, dude. Himbo hanger Hanks. They go here. Yeah. Washford and Drysdale. They have very different attitudes, but kind of like Florence and Celia. Even though they're pretty different and kind of opposite in some ways, I think if you're interested in one, you're interested in the other because you're kind of interested in their fraught relationship. You know, you're interested in the drama, the fact that they were together, but they're not even speaking to each other right now. What's going on with that? Why is that the case? Don't you want to find out? I think because there's a bit more I don't know. I don't know if this really goes in the yikes. I mean, I guess there is a little more strife here. Ultimately, like, you expect things to work out here. This is a situation that you expect to work out. And I think I'm just going to put them, like, right in the middle. Because it's like they have a larger-than-likeness. That's kind of fun. But there's also, like, a little bit of drama around, like, their relationship and how they're both sad about it. Washford, in particular, man, I barely know what the hell he's on about. In the nicest way. I like poems, but sometimes I just kind of feel like I can't keep up. I'm always open to trying, to learning, but, you know, sometimes it's, I don't wanna. Alright, Harper and Dirk. Oh my God. I don't think I need to tell you. This is going all the way in yikes. So Harper and Dirk, they have this really nasty relationship. They're constantly fighting. And it's like, this is mean. They get really shitty to each other. Like, it is hard to watch, dude. So this is going all the way in yikes. This is by far our yikesest. And if you just want to get involved in some really nasty shit between these two, then this is what you want. This is what you want if you want some toxic, shitty people being shitty and mean to each other. If you just want to get involved in that, this is who you go to. This is what you want. All the way over there. Well, no, I have to put it over here so that way you can actually see it on camera, but just no, spiritually, it's on the other fucking wall, dude. And I'm so sorry, but I do have to break the color scheme because I wrote all these down before realizing I had a color scheme. Titus. Titus is a little bit like Washford in that I don't really know what she's going on about all the time. I mean, she's cool because she's got a sword, and she's kind of, she's kind of also one of those characters that's like really in her own world, thinking about like the war, and it's like, what? She's got a lot of lore going on. Yeah, I think she's going a little bit towards yikes, because I think you like her because she's got a little bit of like tragedy going on with her that you just kind of want to get involved in, Oh, who I'm not totally sure where to put, because he seems like, I think you like him because he's genuinely a very like chill dude, like he just seems like he's genuinely enjoyable to just hang out with. I think he does seem to have some sort of little issue that makes him a mystery. I think I might just put him like, right, do I put him in the middle? I don't know, he doesn't really seem like, I do not know. I think I'm gonna put him over here. I think I'm gonna put him like over here, because like he does seem to have an issue, but I think the real reason that you're dating him is because he's just like a cool man. He just likes to hang out, he likes to watch the game and have a little drinky drink. You come to him for his charms, and the drama is just extra, I think that's it. But if I'm wrong, let me know. That's where Hoove is. That's where Hoove is. This board situation really didn't work as well as I thought. Bobby is definitely one of the fun characters. Their whole thing is that like they want to be a criminal, but like they're actually kind of bad at it, and they just come up with really bad ideas about how to scam people, and that's really fun. This is kind of like Maggie. This is kind of like another character. I think, I don't know. Point is, Bobby is a character where you're kind of going on a journey with them, Okay, Kristoff and Dunk I'm going to talk about together because they're both kind of the same in that they're both there to kind of encourage you to, exercise. But whereas Dunk has like healthy and reasonable expectations for you, Kristoff calls exercise violence and treats it like, you gotta beat your own weakness to death. Dunk's for the people who like the idea of being genuinely like supported in something and sharing an activity for someone. Kristoff is for someone who kind of wants to, I think, get beaten up a bit, or just like the idea of talking about it, because I don't think he actually does it. But that's kind of the difference in their vibe. That's fine for Kristoff. Dunk is going down here, randomly patting down tape down there. Fantina is, of course, your biggest fan. As you can imagine, I'm not into this one. I mean, I like her joy, I like her sparkle, but she is just like so into you, and it is a little much, I think. It's like her whole existence is around appreciating you. I think she's very cute, but I do think that it's kind of a bit much. I think she's going kind of in the heightened here, because it's like, I think for the most part she's just kind of like trying her best to be sweet and nice, but I don't know, girl, leave me alone a little bit. I think here's fair. Stepford, I have nothing interesting to say. Stepford, I guess it's kind of over here, because his whole deal is that he's a trophy, but like he hasn't won anything in a while, so he's like, he's nodding. I didn't say that. I don't know. Fantina's kind of in this area. I don't really know what to make of this. I guess because like what you do with him is that you sort of help him like motivate him to decide kind of what to do, like go back at it, retire. I don't know. He's going over here. He's going over here. And if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm so sorry. The twist where he turns out to be a serial killer, that isn't in the demo, so I can't really act with that information. Wouldn't it be funny if he was actually, though? Like if I just made this random joke and it was true? Stepford enjoyers, let me know. Tony's kind of this caricature of a construction worker. He's also one of those characters that kind of immediately tries to help you with flirting. He also suggests some really interesting improvements to your home. He's kind of fun. He's kind of got that that joy to him. I think he's gonna go over here. I think that's a fair spot for him. I like how enthusiastic he is. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I don't have much. Bo's like Maggie, Bo's like Bobby. Bo is on an adventure through the house trying to do some fucking Indiana Jones ass archaeology, anthropology kind of nonsense. She seems really fun. I like her vibe. She's like serious about it, but she's also like, she just genuinely is very passionate about it, about the study. But like also it's just like, she acknowledges like the fun in what she does, it's kind of fun that she's gonna try and steal Jacques' sword or whatever. y'all know she's kind of in the Holly. Holly is like really excitable and joyful, as you might expect by a holiday. So I think kind of the appeal is that she's like very happy and energetic, and it's like she's got a little bit of like difficulties with like a work-life balance or whatever. But I think really that's why you want her. You want her because she's got that joy in her. There's a couple of characters like that, similar to Rainey. So she's a little more like openly having some issues, but I think that's all right. Erin don't say jack shit. She likes it when people don't say jack shit. That's her vibe, and I think that's good. And you know what? I respect that and appreciate that about her. That's awesome for her. It also means I really don't have much to remark on about her. Xbox John, she got that ooh in her for real. There's not much of presence of her in the demo. I think she's kind of funny. I like her Komoji. I like her pizzazz, I guess. But I don't know. There's still not much to say. But she seems like she's funny. She seems like she's fun. That's kind of her role. This is a character where I really don't know why you would want to date her yet. Like I said, some characters don't really have a strong presence in the demo. The sassy chap. I didn't read all that. You think I read all that? I didn't read all that. Or I guess I didn't watch all that, rather. But I didn't watch all that. It's not that I don't care. It's just that it was a lot of it. I don't know. This is a. If you like trivia, go for this one. Okay, Nightmare. Kind of hot. Like she comes out here. And she describes a sequence where you're eaten by bugs or whatever. And I think that's really sexy of her. Is she a little bit of a is she a lot of a yikes? Yeah. Do you date her because you find her creepy? Yeah. But like if that's your vibe. Her design is very creepy. The things she's got going on, with those being saying the scariest shit she can think of to you. And actually doing it quite effectively. You do that if you're a little bit of a yikes. You do that if you're a bit of a yikes enjoyer. Regina Rejection. He's a messy bitch. He's here to see you he likes the drama of a breakup. He is, of course, the personification of rejection. I think kind of a yikes territory because it's like, you know what the fuck you're in for with this character. If you want someone who kind of relishes in your failures and he's kind of got that, kind of a bad bitch vibe about him. He probably don't care about you all that much, but like if you want to fuck or whatever, I'm sure he's down for that. And I apologize. I know I kind of ran out of steam there at the end. But I really wanted to get this done. And unfortunately, I do think we were a little bit backloaded with characters that I didn't have too much to say about. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you were able to follow, even though you can't see anything. So kind of the whole point of doing this was moot, but it was kind of also the easiest way. I have a video in the docs that's been in the docs for a while now. It was supposed to be released back in January. And it sure wasn't because everything happened. So I'm going to finish subtitling that and then post it. And I'm going to subtitle this video. And hopefully in that time, I will have played a good bit of the full release game. So we can kind of come back. I can listen to your feedback. I can hear what you have to say. And, we can kind of resort these if we need to. Maybe in a space where we can actually, look at all this. Talk about the new characters. And, yeah. I hope you had fun. Do I have anything else to say? I feel like I have something else to say. So, I hope that you've used this to figure out who you want to date, or maybe you've learned something about yourself, about the characters that you enjoy, or even if not from me, from your thoughts about the things I said, or maybe how you disagreed with it, how you would change, how you would sort things. I just hope you got something out of this. Peace and love. Goodbye.